Scarduzio and Tracy wanted to understand emotional interactions within a courtroom. Their study analyzes how emotions cycle between judges and the bailiff, who help provide sense-giving and sense-breaking cues to defendants and observers in the courtroom. The study explores the emotional environment of the courtroom and the emotional buffering role of better understanding of these emotional cycles can lead to a better understanding of how the collective communication in the courtroom creates order. The literature section talks about organizational sense-giving and sense-breaking to provide a framework for how organizational settings influence individuals. The rest of the literature explains how emotional contagion helps us understand how one person's emotions can have an impact on the collective. The research focused on external emotional that can be observed in the courtroom interactions. The data emerged from 150 research hours of qualitative interviewing and participant observation gathered during 13 months. The sites of the research observations was in 2 large courtrooms. They had 78 structured interviews of the employees. The researchers took part in the data immersion phase, which is where the researchers talked about their emerging findings with each other to make sense of their interpretations, according to Tracy 2013. The researchers then engaged in first level coding with their findings to focus on what is present in the data by noting how the judge and bailiff manage courtroom interactions, according to Tracy 2013. The researchers then engaged in second level coding, which according to Tracy in 2013 examined the codes already identified and begins categorizing them into interpretive concepts. The results of the second level coding comprehend how the judge, bailiff, and defendants interact to shape emotions and the collective environment. The judge starts the emotional cycle. The bailiff provides sense-giving and sense-breaking cues by amplifying or mirroring emotions of the judge. The defendant is the direct recipient of the emotional displays and sense-making / sense-breaking cues. Based on the roles of each of the 3, there were 3 cycles identified. The positive emotional cycle, which begins with the positive emotions being sent to the defendant from the judge, while the bailiff complements the message. The negative emotion cycle begins with negative emotions by the judge sent to the defendant, which the bailiff begins to reinforce through verbal and nonverbal behavior. The last cycle is the negative complementary response, which is where the defendant displays negative emotions such as anger, frustration, and defiance in response to the messages communicated by the bailiff. Overall, the study shows how sense-giving, sense-breaking, and emotional cycles can help us better understand the collective process of emotional expression based on organizational norms. Based on the study, different roles within the courtroom dictate the behavior defendants in the court display. The information from the study can be used to help prevent judges and bailiffs from displaying specific behaviors that defendants would view as unfair, which can enforce an imbalance of power.